As we often say, the middle of summer is for ranking things. I saw a crazy list about the ceiling and floor for each team in college football in 2025. Where does NC State fall in line?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money, monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off of your first year. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we're still sweltering here in the June heat, looking for things to talk about pertaining to NC State football. I think we have a good one here on Wednesday. I saw a list from Front Porch Sports, which may or may not just be the twin evil brother of Big Game Boomer. They make the exact same list, just in a different font, basically. He keyed out the entire ceiling and floor of all 134 college football teams. As you can see, it's a lot of numbers, a lot of colors, not that big of a font. So I went ahead and did you the due diligence. I zoomed in for us specifically. As you see here, NC State is in the middle. The ceiling, as told by Front Porch Sports, is 11-1 for 2025. Kenton, give me your thoughts.
That's a ceiling. That's the ceiling, all right. I'm going to tell you this much. If this is NC State's actual ceiling, if everything breaks right, could I see this team being 11-1? Even if everything broke really right, that's tough. That's tough. Because here's the deal. I have a sneaky suspicion, or rather I have a suspicion, based on the information I've been told, that the secondary could be sneaky good. They could be sneaky good.
Okay.
I'm still worried about the pass rush in such a meaningful way that I'm not sure if double-digit wins could be in the cards, because I'm a big believer in your edge rushers. When you play group of five ball, you can have a deficiency like that and potentially get away with it if every other part of your team is strong enough. In the ACC, it's going to be hard to hide that. It's going to be really, really hard to hide that. So 11-1 as a ceiling, I think that's tough. I think that's a very, very high bar to get to. But I like the belief in NC State. I'm never going to turn down some belief that we could have nice things. It's just that's going to be a tall order, as they say.
The tallest of orders, because again, I don't know what kind of ceiling this man is looking at. He must live in a mansion with ceilings so high you can't even see the dust or the spider webs in the corner. 11-1 for NC State football in 2025. I mean, none of us would complain if that were to happen. The problem is, I don't think any of us see a world in which that can become reality. When you're looking at the schedule and you're looking at, okay, if 11-1 were to happen, I mean, basically every single thing would have to go right except for just one game where maybe, I don't know, it all falls apart for you. Best case is you start off 6-0. You start off 6-0 before you go on the road to Notre Dame. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. But if everything does go right, if you get every bounce, every flag against the other team, if everything goes right, I think there's a feasible world where you're 6-0 heading out to South Bend, because again, those 6 games in the beginning of the season, it's ECU, UVA, Wake Forest, Duke, Virginia Tech, and Campbell. Did you hear any world beaters in those first 6? No, you didn't. The hardest game is probably going to be on the road at Duke, especially because Duke, for some reason, they have our number here as of recent. Best case, I think you can win all 6 of those games. Then you're looking at the back half. You have at Notre Dame, at Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech at home, at Miami, and then you have Florida State and the Dirty Foot Club at home. So if you're 6-0 in the first half of the season, and one loss is going to have to come somewhere in the bottom half of the season, is it at Notre Dame? Is it at Miami? Is it at Pittsburgh? Where do you think that would fall?
After looking at this schedule again, I see the vision on 11-1. I'm not saying I agree. I'm not saying that's
he
our
got you. You took
ceiling.
the bait.
I'm not saying no. Wait. I'm not saying that that's our ceiling. I'm saying I can see the vision because even the teams that you would pencil in, even the teams that NC State would be underdogs against, they have questions that are almost as big as ours. Some of those teams have top end talent that's well above ours. I see the vision though. The floor, however, is where I don't see the vision. The floor is where you have lost me. I think we have lost the plot.
Okay, so before we get into the floor, go ahead and give us the number. What is your ceiling for this team this year?
I think the ceiling is 9-3. I think 9-3. Because if you look at this team, if the defense is like, if somehow some of those transfer edge rushers I was wrong. And like these guys are not just starters, they are impact dudes. They are dudes that are getting home right away. If that happens, I think you'll have a tough time against Notre Dame because they're an offensive line factory. There's no way around that. And I'm not sure that this team has the maturity to be ready to beat all the teams that they should, if you get what I'm saying. I think 9-3, maybe if every single thing goes right, you don't have any major injuries. You know, the defense is better than we think. The offense is everything we think, 10-2, absolute best. But a normal ceiling without like an active God, I think 9-3 is where you're at.
I think my ceiling, best case scenario, is 8-4. Because I'm looking at the schedule. I think Notre Dame, Miami, and Georgia Tech, I think those are 3 losses right off the rip. So then you look at everybody else, and you're looking at Wake Forest. We've had our struggles out there in Winston-Salem. We exercised those demons 2 years ago, but we got to go back and try it again this year. You got to go on the road at Duke. Duke was like a haunted house for us 2 years ago. They played in our face the entire night and basically laughed us out of the building. That was awful. Then you got the Dirty Foot Club at home. That game always feels like a toss-up, even though we've taken belt to behind the last 4 years in a row. Florida State. What does Florida State look like this year? I don't think we really know yet. I think you're going to have at least another loss outside of the 3 I've already listed. So I think the absolute best case is 8-4. And again, that's probably having to outscore Duke on the road, having to outscore maybe even an ECU in night 1, which we'll talk about the floor here in just a second. You might have to be outscoring a lot of these teams to kind of make up for maybe where we feel the defense will be lacking at times. I think 8-4 is the ceiling, the absolute best case scenario for this team. And now we'll do the opposite. The floor. Kenton, where do you see the floor being for this group in 2025?
I have said a lot. Over 8 or under 6, 5 or less. I see the absolute floor of this team, 4 wins. If you lose to ECU and Virginia, if you sputter out the gates in that fashion, if you lose to ECU and let 1 loss become 2, now you're going to have a real tough time because I think that you're going to beat Wake Forest. I think we could pencil that one in. New system, new coach. They don't exactly have the talent or the ability to recruit talent into Wake Forest because of their transfer rules and things like that to kind of be able to fill in their new coach's system right away. I think Florida State's going to be a broken team by then. Do you know who Florida State plays the first game of the year next year?
Is it LSU? No, it's not LSU. Who is it? I forgot.
Alabama.
Oh, brother.
Do you remember what happened last time Florida State played Alabama for one of their first games of the year?
It was none too pretty. Was that DeAndre Francois?
Yes, it destroyed their program. Their quarterback tore his ACL. The head coach was gone within a year, and it was just a complete and utter cluster. You know what? I'm not joking when I say this. That team could be broken. I think that you're going to get a win there. And sneakily, Miami is in that same category. Miami is in that same category of I'm deeply worried about your quarterback position. You have a ton of talent in the trenches. I do not deny that. But Grayson and I have both seen teams where everybody else plays amazing except that guy flinging the pill around. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, it's nasty business. So I think that, at the end of the day, I think NC State at minimum is going to come away with Campbell, Wake Forest, and some combination of Pitt, Florida State, Dirty Foot Club, or Virginia. I think they come away with those at minimum. East Carolina, it's going to be their Super Bowl, and NC State does not treat it like that for whatever reason, which I don't like. If a team treats you like their Super Bowl, you should be matching that energy. At the end of the day, I think you got a guaranteed 4 on your hands with that group. And that's pretty much all I'm willing to say. There's a guarantee of 4. And ECU could be in that 4. You could beat ECU and then lose to Virginia and Wake Forest. I think some combination of that could happen, but I think you do get 4 minimum.
I'm with you. I think my floor is 4-8. To be honest with you, if things really hit the fan, I think it could get even worse than that. Now, I don't want to speak that into existence, but kind of similar to how I said, I think there could be a scenario where you're 6-0 entering the middle part of October, going on the road to Notre Dame. I also think there's a scenario where you're 1-3 exiting the month of September. If you lose the opening game against East Carolina, all bets are off. You're going to lose the fan base. You might even lose the locker room with a loss like that one, because that is still on some level lingering from the Military Bowl. Right. They should know at least what it means to lose to East Carolina. It cannot happen. It cannot happen. And especially not twice in a row. If you lose that one, who knows what happens from there on out. I would advise you not to sleep on Virginia. If you've heard the name Chandler Morris, quarterback that has been at North Texas the last couple of years, he can sling the rock. Yeah, guess where he plays now? Virginia. So they have a pretty decent quarterback. And for a team that is usually undermanned like Virginia is, if they got a solid quarterback, again, all bets are off. They can beat you any given Saturday. I wouldn't quite write them off yet either. You got to go on the road at Wake, on the road at Duke. 2 places that we have not succeeded in historically the last, decade plus. There's a real scenario where you're 1-3 out the gate. And when you're 1-3 out of the gate, you might be looking at a snowball scenario. Virginia Tech, they're not going to do you any favors. Campbell, I think, is really the only, free space on the schedule. Now, we certainly don't want to go 1-11, but Campbell seems like the only game on here where you can look at it and with 100% honesty say, I think we're going to win that game. The other 11, is it not somewhat of a coin flip? I would argue that it is at this. I would not take for granted any other school on this schedule. Now, that said, I think the offense will be good enough to win at least 4 games. And so that's where my minimum, my basement, my floor is being brought up here. I think 4-8 is like doomsday. It would be doomsday, because anything worse than your doomsday, I don't even know what to call it. Nuclear fallout if it's worse than 4-8. But now it's your turn. In the comments, let us know what is your ceiling and your floor for the Wolfpack in 2025. Coming up next, we're getting into a whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our Wednesday sponsor is Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where the heck did all my money go? Between dining out, shopping online, and entertainment, sometimes it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes into play. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in just one place, so you can stop managing your money and start building your wealth. Managing your money with your partner is also now smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all of the stress. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money. monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for 50% off of your first year, only at Monarch Money. Middle portion of our Wednesday show. Now time for a whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something. 3 topics. We'll tell you exactly where we stand on them. So first one here, I did some digging, mostly because we were tagged in this a bunch of times in our comments. Our good old buddy, old pal, Isaac Shade, over on Locked On Tar Heels, he had some thoughts about what Will Wade had to say about Van Allen Lubin this past weekend. Isaac is of the idea that Will Wade was a little classless for what he was talking about, and the other school is too dumb to play Van Allen Lubin, and this, that, and the other, and that Hubert Davis and Roy Williams and Dean Smith, they would never say something like that about Duke or NC State or anyone else in the country. To that I say, Kenton, don't you have a little story about Mr. Roy Williams?
I do believe there's a tweet of some sort to bring up here potentially, Grayson. Do we have that tweet somewhere in the back?
It'd be a shame if I had a screenshot of that. Oh no, it's made it on
Oh,
the show.
What's that? And let's read the quote for those who are listening and can't see it. You get tired of that, but it's something that always bothered me. It will always bother me. 100 years ago, I'm watching in Lawrence, Kansas, and North Carolina's playing North Carolina State, and there were 5 million red shirts in the crowd. And if I had a BB gun, 5 million red shirts would have a burned rear end because I just don't like those kind of things. I mean, seriously.
Roy Williams, this you?
This you. And Isaac is a good friend of ours. You know, we know him to be a man of the cloth. So I'm going to quote Matthew chapter 7, verse 4. How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? There's a BB gun-sized plank in Roy Williams' eye here. We're looking at Will Wade saying, hey, they weren't smart enough to play the guy. I'm going to tell you this. I absolutely love that crowd because they are the kings and queens of throwing rocks and hiding their hands. And that's why, honestly and truly, it makes sense why they're so much better at basketball. It really does, because it's a finesse sport. It depends on a little bit of deception, mostly talent. But like when you talk about football, right, at some point in time, it comes down to you and another man, and somebody's going to move somebody against their will. And you can say, oh, you have no class. You're a meanie. We don't care. We don't care about Courtney Banghart saying they're mean to each other. And I don't care. Some of Wolfpack Nation hasn't always been nice to me and Grayson. You think we care? Hey, I feel like you're calling me to the carpet to be better at my job, or you acknowledge it and get better and fix it. But that crowd over there, oh, don't talk mean to us. Why are you talking to us that way? Why are you speaking to me like this? We don't, this is sports. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose. It's not always nice. Not always nice. So, I love you, Isaac. You're my guy, especially because you perfectly fit the mold of a UNC fan that's not even from North Carolina, didn't even go to UNC. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not getting into that right now. But, he's a good dude. Isaac is a good dude. I just find this interesting.
Isaac is a good dude. I think he's one of only 2 Tar Heels in my entire life that I have actually enjoyed their company. The other one is blood related to me. So that's how serious of a deal that is. But Isaac, release the pearls that you are clutching in your fist right now. I thought we were talking about college sports here. All this crying going on. I think we've lost the plot. It's almost like this is what you do in a rivalry in college sports. Both sides talk smack. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun. The crying about every single thing we do or say that's directed to the Dirty Foot Club is insane to me, especially with the amount of success that they've had, not just against us specifically, but in general. For them to be so sensitive about every single thing that gets said about them. Good Lord, what are y'all doing over there in Dirty Footland? It's supposed to be fun. Lighten up. Release the pearls. Whole lot of nothing, man. Good grief. Second one here. We'll stick with Pac basketball. There is reportedly a scrimmage scheduled with South Carolina in Greensboro coming up this fall. Whole lot of nothing. Whole lot of something.
I'm going to say a whole lot of nothing because these secret scrimmages, I've never really been a guy.
Here's the thing. It's not a secret scrimmage. It's the exhibition game that we usually play every year.
Oh, so we're not playing middle of Nowheresville, Island of
Correct.
Misfit Toys?
You're picking up what I'm putting down here.
I may have to name one of my children's middle name Frank. If I got to explain that to my daughter one day, I don't care. I don't care. I could not love Will Wade more. Unless you got me a date with Megan Thee Stallion. I'm just saying, Will, that would make me love you more. But anything short of that, I could not love Will Wade more. Oh, this is good. Listen, y'all don't understand what it feels like to watch us play the Island of Misfit Toys every year. and then to have a coach come in and in year one say, no. Not only do I want a Division I team, I want a Power 4 team here. I want them here for the exhibition. Whole lot of something. Will Wade, we love you, baby. Don't ever change. Don't you ever change Frank William Wade.
I think this is like the most concise way I can put this. If you want to talk about the way that the program has leveled up in just 2 months, listen to some of the schools that Kevin Keats scheduled for the exhibition. Again, this is not the secret scrimmage. This is an exhibition free of charge that we have been playing in the Lenovo Center, but this one in particular against South Carolina, that'll be in Greensboro, the Greensboro Coliseum, which also I would expect would be free admission. So Kevin Keats played Mars Hill. Kevin Keats played Mount Olive. Kevin Keats played Lees McRae. Kevin Keats played Barton College. Lynn University. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? Year one, Will Wade said, give me South Carolina. Give me an SEC school to play for an exhibition. And again here, it's an exhibition. You know what that means? It doesn't count. It does not go on the record. The only thing you're really looking at is who your team is immediately out of the gate before you get into the games that count. Everybody gets bent out of shape, especially last year. Didn't we go to like overtime with Lees McRae, or we won by like 2 points or something like that? Yeah. Maybe that was a warning of things to come. In fact, I think it might have been. But instead of playing a school that you should hypothetically beat by 45 and then never think of them ever again, we're playing an SEC school. You want to talk about the mindset leveling up and being aggressive in finding opponents, getting better in skill, camaraderie, battle-tested, trials and tribulations, everything. That's what I'm talking about. It's so small, you might miss it. Just an exhibition game, that is very loud coming off of the page to me. That says a lot about Will Wade and what he wants this program to be, a consistent winner. Most definitely a whole lot of something. Third one here, we'll stick with college basketball yet again. A 2026 recruit, 6'10", 5-star Tony Bryant has been scheduling some official visits coming up. These visits include Michigan, Missouri, Arizona, Florida State, the Dirty Foot Club, and NC State. Top 15 in the country has now scheduled a visit with NC State. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something, man.
That look just said it all right there.
Y'all don't know. Well, actually, y'all are members of Wolfpack Nation, so you do know. We have the most passionate fan base in the world, so y'all know. Y'all know what we had to see trot out there as our post guys, as our big guys. Y'all know. Y'all have seen years where we literally were doing rain dances and praying to every deity there was. I mean, I thought about becoming Buddhist for a second, for Christ's sake, to keep our one center healthy. And he was out 3 minutes into the season. And y'all saw what we had to do in his absence. And now we have top 15 bigs coming to visit. I'm at a loss for words, man. I'm at a loss for words. Whole lot of something. Oh, I have PTSD from watching some of that. You know, to see this. Whole lot of something. Just a tremendous amount of something.
Life like this sure is sweet, huh? Yeah, it feels awesome. How long have we waited to see a consistent recruiting heater like this? And it's still yet to happen because we still have we had the 2027 names come through like Josh Leonard and King Gibson. Tony Bryant here is a 2026. So this is a kid that's going to be finding his commitment here relatively soon. And all of these visits would tell you as such. To be listed in a grouping with Michigan, who is rising up to be a very prominent program in the Big Ten because Dusty May, he's a proven winner. Missouri, they had a very good year this last year. Arizona's consistently good. Florida State, we'll have to see what they do with their new regime down there in Tallahassee. The Dirty Foot Club speaks for itself. For NC State to be in this listing, in addition to other listings with, you know, the top 2027 players, we're getting somewhere. This is what it looks like when a program starts coming together and all the top level talent is coming through Raleigh, at the very least to pay us a visit. You're going to start hitting on some of these guys. And then when you do, you're going to bring in Actually, I'll go ahead and give you this take. I think Will Wade is going to clear the top recruiting class we've ever seen at NC State. And I think he's going to do it with ease. That's probably actually not a hot take like at all. He got Matt Abel weeks on the job, and he was the 4th highest recruit ever. He's going to do it. You can see it now coming from a mile away. When Will Wade puts together the top recruiting class of all time at NC State and then puts them on the floor and then they win, it's off to the races. We have so much more to say, but I'll leave it there for now. Most certainly a whole lot of something. Coming up next, we're going to close out our Wednesday show talking the most underrated Pac football players since the year 2000. Offense only. We'll cover defense on Friday. The offensive players that are most underrated in the last 25 years. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show. I saw another interesting tweet over the course of this week. This one came from College Football Live on Twitter. He asked the question, who is the most underrated player in college football from the last 25 years? And now, I don't think NC State had the most underrated player in the country, but I took the liberty to go ahead and angle it toward NC State specifically. My answer to that question, I think Jalen Samuels is the most underrated NC State player in the last 25 years. But I wanted to open up this discussion. So we're going to do it for each offensive group here. We'll go ahead and start with quarterback. Your most underrated NC State quarterback in the last 25 years.
I think we got the same guy for this one. I mean,
I bet we do.
I don't know how this guy is number 2 all time in NC State. In NC State passing yards, he is top 5 all time in NC State passing touchdowns. He was he was steady, consistent. He made the right read, got the ball to his playmakers at a very high clip. Oh, Ryan Finley, we hardly knew ye. He is the most underrated because when you talk about the pantheon of great quarterbacks in NC State, he does not get the respect of being a guy that's all throughout the record books in terms of total stats. But check this out. In 3 years, nobody considers Ryan Finley for like, hey, that's one of the best quarterbacks in NC State history. And yet, check the record books, check the stats. Even if you want to argue, oh, well, it was just a bunch of dump-off passes and whatnot. Really? You sure about that? You want to go back and watch that tape again? He may not have had a rocket arm that he was throwing 60 yards on a rope or anything like that. But how many players in college do have that? You give me a guy that makes the right read, gets the ball out on time, I'll take it every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
We're definitely in unison here. My most underrated quarterback is Ryan Finley. I flirted with the idea briefly of Jacoby Brissett. He only played here for 2 years, and they were exciting, but just didn't quite have the pop that Ryan Finley had. And Ryan Finley is one of the peak players of the last, or I guess especially in the Doran era, where after they move on, you kind of start to feel like you maybe took them for granted a little bit. Like you didn't quite know how good you had it, because Ryan Finley was just a really solid college quarterback. To Kenton's point, he made the right read, he made the right throw, he made the right decision, oftentimes wouldn't put the ball up in jeopardy. I always wish he had a little bit more zip on the ball, but you can't have everything. The reason I'm always going to have a soft spot in my heart for Ryan Finley, I was in the stands for Marcus Stone, for Jay Davis, for Daniel Evans, for Harrison Beck, who now goes by Throw God on TikTok. I was in the mud in the Carter Finley stands watching, I don't even know if you can call it quarterback play. At times it felt like we couldn't complete a forward pass. So you got to understand what Ryan Finley looked like to me when I was a student. I thought this dude was awesome. And obviously so was Russell Wilson, so was Mike Glennon, so was Jacoby Brissett. But Ryan Finley also was during my time as a student primarily. So I always will love Ryan Finley, and I truly don't think he gets enough love for his time at NC State. Moving forward, the running backs. Kenton, who's your most underrated NC State running back in the last 25 years?
I was really stuck. I was really stuck between 2 guys I played with because I think the world of both of these guys as young men. And in terms of who they are as players, I think is our best power back since T.A. McClendon, who also technically could be on this list. But the problem is people respect T.A. McClendon as an NC State great. Reggie Gillespie, on the other hand, people see him as NC State very good, but I'm like, no. When you needed a yard, he was always that guy. When you needed 3 yards, he could always do that. But then when he stepped up into the starting role, he was phenomenal. However, there's a guy that came slightly before him. Me and this guy were in the same recruit class.
You take my answer again.
Young Mr. Matt Days. I mean, again, he was just Mr. Reliable. There were a lot of things going on in the running back room at that time that I don't need to talk about on here. We know what was going on there. And he was a guy that was somewhat of a stabilizing force, even through some teams that were kind of rough. He was a guy, he showed up, he was consistent, and at the end of the day, electric is not the word. He did not have the greatest long speed. He did not have Naheem Hines' long speed, right? Didn't have Reggie's power. Didn't maybe have, he may not have had T.A. McClendon's contact balance and tackle breaking ability, but he combined all of it. Didn't have Jay Sam's receiving ability, but he combined all of it in terms of I may not be the one in this regard, but I'm 2 in everything. And I'm going to show you what a package looks like. When I'm really good at everything, I think he deserves more credit as an NC State great.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Matt Days is the answer for me as well. Nearly ran for 3,000 yards in his Wolfpack career. With the way the transfer portal and NIL works now, you'll probably never see that again, to be quite honest with you, because that's going to require somebody to stick around most likely for 3+ years, if not maybe 4. Who knows how often we'll see a key running back like that again. Matt Days was very much slept on, very much in the same conversation as Ryan Finley. You didn't really know how good you had it until they've moved on. And I also thought about Bam Knight. Now, he's not my answer, but I think I would have liked to see what Bam Knight could have done as the feature back for 3 years. I think him splitting time with Ricky Person, with all due respect, we just never saw the best of either one of them because there had to be a balance between the two. Yeah, no doubt for me, it's Matt Days. Dizzy Days, we used to call him. Incredible running back in the red and white. Wide receivers, your most underrated wide receiver in the last 25 years.
Oh, man. This was another one that was really tough. This was another one that I thought about, and I said, all right, who do I really want to give this to? Who do I really want to talk about in terms of this? Here's the thing. Emeka Emezi and Thayer Thomas, I think, get their proper respect as NC State legends. I really do. I think that they get their due. I think they get their love, especially Thayer with it's a family affair with Thayer. You pick a Thomas brother, and all 3 of them have amazing feats, you know what I mean? But I'll give you a guy that played with them. The only player in our top 10 in terms of receiving yards who did not play a full 4 years at NC State, and that would be none other than Mr. Jacoby Myers. I really and truly, there's a funny story about me meeting Jacoby Myers, because from the time that I was 5 or 6 years old, all the way up through when I stopped playing football. And actually, I'm lying. I still have this a little bit to this day. Quarterbacks make me uncomfortable. Just being around a quarterback, it's almost like ancestral. If you've ever seen the movie Zootopia, when they were oh, all of the predators keep going feral and they keep wanting to randomly attack the prey. That kind of happens with me. Something in me activates, and I'm I could make this happen right now. You, if I was to want to tackle you, you couldn't get away from me. I met Jacoby Myers. That didn't happen. I didn't get that feeling around him. And I remember telling him, hey, that means you're not a quarterback. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm a quarterback. And I said, you're going to have a great career wherever you play, but you're not a quarterback. And shortly after that, he transitioned to receiver and went on to become one of the best in NC State history. That's a guy that I think he deserves more love.
I think wide receiver is by far, a country mile, the toughest conversation to have and most underrated, because, you could go all the way back to the early 2000s with Phillip Rivers as quarterback. Jericho Cotchery played in the NFL, had a fantastic career at NC State, number 2 all-time in receiving yards at State. He nearly passed Torrey Holt. And Torrey Holt is the crown jewel of wide receivers at NC State. Jericho Cotchery, believe it or not, is right there in the record book. He is certainly a name to keep in mind here. You mentioned Emeka Emezi. He will forever be loved by Wolfpack Nation for what he did in his senior year. I think he could have been my answer. I think Kelvin Harmon could have been my answer. I think he
That's a good
gets
one.
forgotten about a lot. The favorite target of Ryan Finley, those two had a great connection. It worked out for a lot of Wolfpack touchdowns. I think you could remember guys like Jacoby Myers, like Kenton brought up. I'm going with Thayer Thomas, and here's why. I think a lot of times people forget that Thayer Thomas went from walk-on to number 5 in the all-time record book for receiving yards at NC State. Do you know how rare that is? Top 5 as a wide receiver at a school, as a walk-on. That's incredible. And again, that's one of those rare situations. I don't know if we'll ever see something like that again in the world of NIL and how important the monetary aspect has become. How often is it that we're going to see a walk-on not just get playing time, but get significant playing time in his freshman year and then rise up to be one of the primary targets of your quarterback and then do so well that they end up in the record books at that school? I don't know if you'll see that again. And Thayer Thomas, and to Kenton's point, the Thomas family, not to leave out Drake and Lex as well, forever ingrained in Wolfpack history. But Thayer Thomas, for me, is the most underrated wide receiver of the last 25 years. That's all the time we have for today. We'll continue some of this throughout the rest of this week. We'll talk about some defense, and maybe we'll get into tight end and offensive line. I want to give them some love too. But that will do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on the ceiling and floor for NC State football in 2025. Give us your continued thoughts on the comments from Will Wade, the Carolina crash out over said comments, the rise of the Will Wade recruiting era at NC State, anything else you have on your mind there. And certainly, last but not least, your most underrated offensive players at NC State in the last 25 years. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you right back here on Friday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.